Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Alan Wake for the Xbox 360, developed by Remedy Entertainment and released in 2010. I'm playing this one on an Xbox 360 console. Alan Wake was one of those games that I remember having a lot of hype around it. It had this really long development cycle, about 5 years, and there was a lot of publicity out there building up how great this game was going to be. And then when it finally came out, it just didn't perform like they were hoping. I bought the special edition back then, and it looks like this sort of a book in its packaging. Check this out. I've had this one a long time. I can't say that in general I'm into getting crazy special editions for games, the ones with all the bells and whistles and statues and stuff, but this game was appealing enough for me to get the one with the extras. It has a soundtrack, a bonus disc, and I'm not sure what the bonus disc actually contains, but there's also a book with scripts, screenshots, stuff like that. It's certainly neat for fans, and I'm definitely a fan of this one. Alan Wake is a third-person survival horror game, and you play Alan Wake. He's a writer that's on vacation with his wife Alice. You're a bit of a jerk at the beginning of this game. You're an angry writer who's having trouble writing. And of course, your wife is just trying to help. You get into an argument and then you storm off. When you're gone, there's some screaming and you run back in to help. When you're in the house, Alice is not there. You end up jumping off the back porch because you think you see her drowning in the water below. And then suddenly, you're in this car that has driven off the side of a mountain road. Just like that. So this kind of scenario is what the game is kind of about here. The question is, what just happened? Did you crash your car and wake from a nightmare? You apparently lost a week's time. What's real? I won't spoil the plot here. I mean, if I wanted to, I'd probably have a slightly difficult time doing so. This game is one where you really don't know exactly what's going on sometimes, and even when you kind of do understand, I think you could still question what's actually happening. Fundamentally, you're looking to find your wife Alice. So the game opens with a nightmare level, basically, and it's just a standard sort of demo level games have at the beginning, really. Designed to teach you a little bit about the game mechanics. The basic combat goes like this. You have a flashlight in your left hand and possibly a gun in your right. You use the flashlight to burn ghosts. That drops their shields and makes them vulnerable. When they're vulnerable, you can shoot them with the gun. It works. You need to worry about batteries for the flashlight and bullets for the guns. Also, light is good in this game. Whether it's a street lamp or maybe a lamp on a hiking trail, they keep ghosts away and it heals you. One of the things I love in this game, the right directional stick controls the camera. I love games where you can control what you're seeing, especially games with such good visuals. As you run, you can adjust to see what's coming up behind you if you want, and honestly, you're going to have to do this plenty. You also get a jump mechanic. It's also connected to a useful dodge, and you get multiple weapons in this one. I also like how in this game you're not completely alone in terms of seeing what's going on. This isn't one of those games where you're the only person in the story that can see the ghosts, and then you spend your whole time frustrated that no one else is looking at the right time or able to see them. In this game, other people will recognize and take part in this along the way. So whatever crazy thing is going on, it is tangible to other people, and that's strangely a relief. Now, you're a writer, and your agent Barry shows up, and he tries to help. He's pretty stereotypical from what you'd kind of expect a fast-talking agent to be. He's kind of defensive of you, he's aggressive, talks a lot. At first, I did find him a little annoying, but honestly, he grew on me. I mean, he's slight comic relief in this one, but just barely, and honestly, he's a sounding board for Alan, and I think he helps move the story along. This game does a ton of clever things to polish the experience of this game. There are tons of smaller little things that they've added to this one that just fill it in, and it really works. First, you're playing this game in episodes, and it's displayed like you were watching a television series, and when you start a new episode, it recaps the prior episode. I think it's clever, and it's visually fun to watch. It's going to help keep you engaged and on track with the story and what's happening. One of the main threads that also is in this game, you find random pages to a novel lying around. From a novel that you haven't written yet. It's kind of cool. At one point, I turn on a television. I'm running around and I find a television in a shack. You turn on a television and a TV show comes on. And it's this Twilight Zone type of a show called Night Springs. Check this out. It's got a narrator, digitized actors, and this little story that they're playing with full audio, it goes on way longer than you would expect. It's like a full 4 or 5 minute episode. It's this complete little story. You don't have to watch it, of course, but it's certainly interesting. And this little kind of story that sort of connects to the bigger story as a whole, that's great. And there are multiple episodes. I think I found 2 or 3 other televisions that have completely different episodes. I think that's awesome. Another time the TV's turned on and it's just like a large eye looking out. It's like total nightmare stuff. It's really fun. Now, as you're running around in this one, you also sometimes get voiceover narration. It's like you're being fed an audiobook as you play the game, and it's great for the atmosphere and helps keep you on track. You get various weapons in this one too, and you also get different flashlights along the way. The thing is, you don't just collect weapons and ammo along the way. You're not just stockpiling this stuff. You're going to play, and all the stuff comes out at night, of course. And after you finish the end of that particular night, you're not going to have any of that same equipment the next night when you start over. You're not just hoarding things to use later on in the game. It makes you earn your keep every time you start a new level at night when all the danger shows up. As far as the visuals of the game go, this game looks beautiful. It's not open world, but it feels large and it looks fantastic. And this is whether or not you're in the darkness in the middle of the night, or it's during the day. They did this game right. It just looks majestic and beautiful. Apparently there's a remaster that came out or is just coming out. I'm really curious to know what they're going to do besides wrapping in all the extra content. I mean, the game already looks amazing. It's definitely a game that's designed to give you chills. It is a horror game. Maybe it's not as scary as some, but it's definitely a creepy ghost story. I think they do a pretty good job of it. Generally in this one, you're outside in the wilderness for most of the game, and they do find some great ways to add scares. The lights are going to dim, or they're going to go out completely. Sometimes it's going to happen just as you're running towards them for cover, the moment you certainly need them the most. And when it comes to lights, sometimes they're also connected to a generator. You have to start them up with what is basically sort of a mini-game, I guess. You have to time your button presses. In standard horror fashion, this usually occurs when the lights go out and you're being hunted from the shadows, so basically the worst possible time. You also get ominous music, and it'll sort of key in when the enemies start to appear and all the ghosts come out, and it happens fast. It might also switch to slow motion for a second, and you can see a ghost coming out of the shadows after you with an axe or something. You do have a dodge mechanic here, and that's great, it's useful, and it's super important to learn how to use it. The enemies in this one, all the generic ghosts that you sort of run into, they all resemble these outdoorsmen of some kind. Lumberjacks usually. Just representations of characters from the novel that you haven't really written yet. They're usually wearing flannel and jeans, and they got some sort of a handheld weapon like an axe or, I don't know, a sickle or something like that. It's decent enough fodder for a game like this. So being outside so much, I kind of wondered how many interesting settings you could think that they would develop to keep somebody interested, right? I mean, how many trees can you look at over such a long period without getting sort of bored? You'd think it would be monotonous, right? Instead, they really managed to pack a lot of interesting things into the woods here. There are tons of different things to look at, different locales that really fit into the environment and just keep things visually interesting. Besides cliffs, caves, trees, hiking trails, they've packed in a ton of little things to break up the woods. There are gazebos, cabins, walkways, gas stations, logging camps, lookouts, fire towers, cell towers, mines, all types of locations you could find in random state parks, I suppose. Honestly, there's no shortage of interesting environments to run through. They've packed a lot into this one. The thing is, this is a fun game, and it's reasonably creepy. I think some people might find it a little monotonous, I guess, in the woods all the time, but I think the variety is more than enough to make me want to continue with this one. I've beat this one already. I beat it way back when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm already over halfway through the game again. I also beat the expansion packs before as well, and as far as the expansion packs go, they're pretty interesting. It seems to me that they repurposed a bunch of the existing content from the main game and found a way to just mix it up to sort of make it into these nightmare dreams that you have to survive. You know, like they alter physics and the way things look and such. I think it's pretty clever, and I think the extra content is good. Like I said, I think they're also remastering this one. I think it might have just come out. So if you're interested in trying this game out and you can't get your hands on a legacy copy, you can probably find a remaster fairly easy. Well, that's all I have for Alan Wake for the Xbox 360. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and I'll catch you on another video.